Raiders talk show. We having good times. Let's go. It's Monday with Murphy and Mikey. I switched it up there, you see. Everybody, 0-3. I'm not feeling good. You feel me? You see? I don't know what's going on in the hood. I still love my Raiders. They're good. When they want to be, when they want to play, they are going to get a win someday. Until then, we're going to cheer and have fun because it's Monday with Mike and Murph. Come on, it's Monday with Mikey and Murph. We talking Raiders and football dirt because we are the best Raider talk show. We talking headlines. Let's go. It's Monday with Mikey and Murph. Oh, yeah, Murph, this is episode 10. We back at it again. I'm a rapper, and I should be thin. I don't know if that made sense. What's up, Murph? How you doing on this beautiful day?
I'm doing good, brother. It's another day here in Raider Nation. I would normally call it a fantastic day in Raider Nation, but it's hard to get a little wound up when you're 0-3. But nonetheless, excited to be here doing another episode of Mondays with Mikey and Murph as a prelude to Raiders Fan Radio on Wednesday. Man, it's a good place to be, man. I'm glad to be here.
That's right. Every Wednesday on Raiders Fan Radio, you can get all of Murph's podcast and everything. We definitely got to represent that because they are amazing.
Thank you.
They are good to listen to.
Thank you.
So I don't mind representing that every day. But, man, it's not a feeling a good day. I got an ear infection, got an earache, and a heartache. I mean, if you didn't think we were laying the foundation in a rebuild, I think maybe it's obvious now, too, like a lot of naysayers, that we're struggling in a lot of areas. But we do look better every week. Just not good enough. All right, so this is Mondays with Mike and Murph. I am Mikey. He is Murph. We are here every Monday after a Raiders game, hopefully a victory, to talk headlines. We are like the first take of Raiders, like the ESPN first take of Raiders headlines. I don't know if you want to call it. We're also going to have a game. We're also going to have a little bit of a game review where you can get Murph's, view of it. You already get mine in my video after every damn game. And then we like to have a little bit of fun. And today we're going to talk about football movies, Murph.
Yeah,
you excited about that?
I am. I enjoy a good football movie, a good sports movie in general. Absolutely. And that'll be a fun topic, because we could sit here and get into the doldrums and bitch and complain about the Raiders all show long, or we could, try to do something to bring some levity to the show. You know what I mean?
You're dang right. And I promise everybody, I'm going to look at every headline from a broad spectrum, not just my disdain for Gruden and the press conference I heard today. I'm going to try to look at it from a broad spectrum as opposed to just like, I don't know what he's doing. I'm just going to say, maybe this is what he's doing.
There you go. There you go. Try to seek understanding, Mikey. Be a seeker. That's a good thing.
This is going to be a very interesting show. Hopefully I don't yell at you this week like I did last week for both of us to shut up.
That's okay, buddy. I can take it. It would take a lot stronger barbs than that than to hurt this thick skin. I love you, and it's all good, man. It's all part of the fun. I do want to say something though. Can I say something before we get going? I will say this.
It's your show. Go for it.
Okay. I after our show, a lot of times I'll scroll back through it just to read some of the chat to get some of the feedback. And so let me say before we get going, hi to everyone in the chat. I can't see your chat because I know a lot of people are like writing stuff during the show, and I don't want you to think I'm just ignoring you. I can't read what you're writing, so thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of Mondays with Mikey and Murph. Thank you for the feedback. It's okay to disagree. Please disagree with us. Disagree with each other. Just be kind to one another. Always be kind in what you say. Don't resort to name calling and any of that kind of garbage. But so go for it and have fun. And thanks for it. And I'll catch up to it eventually. I just can't see it during the course of the show. So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, they might not understand that while we're doing the show, we got a bunch of screens open. We're trying to make sure the audio side of the show is good. The video side of the show is good. The streaming aspect of the show is good. And it's really hard to have a chat room open and read it constantly while we're trying to do a show.
Yeah.
But I promise we will look back. Like right now, we got Steve-O Sanchez in there. We got a bunch of Raider players. Mr. V, 7-3. I'm not really watching it. But, hey, let's get on with the show.
All right.
This is going to be an interesting show. It's time for the headlines, breadlines, deadlines. They blow my mind. Murf.
You don't like paying rent.
There you go, Murphy. You got it. Good. You know my little thing. All right. Well, the big headline of the week is Oakland basically falls apart late again, and they were beaten by another fourth quarter comeback. So, in summary, I guess the question we want to ask is, what is the problem with the Raiders and their inability to win at this point? So, broad spectrum looking at it, what are your issues, Murph, with the team?
Well, I mean, clearly it doesn't take a genius analyst to identify that the Raiders aren't closing out games, and why they're not closing out games, I think, is yet to be determined. And frankly, it may still be yet to be determined inside the halls of Alameda. I don't know if there's one single thing you can point it to. You know, some of the part of me wants to look at this and say, well, you got an older group of players. You've been playing in some adverse conditions. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're kind of losing some steam at the end of a game. Maybe they're not bringing the same physical enthusiasm to the fourth quarter that they would bring earlier in a football game. But while I want to think that, I'd also like to think though that it's a little bit more complicated than that. That it's not as simple as something to that effect. So there's a few other things that we look at, right? Is like, number one, football is a game of adjustments. When you look at coaching, it's 100% based on what you do in reaction to your opponent. No one does that better than the Patriots, not last night, but under most terms, somebody like Belichick is fantastic at making adjustments. He's fantastic at getting players in positions to be successful based on what the other team is doing. So the Raiders come out and are phenomenal in the first 2 or 3 quarters, as we see. We know John Gruden is a genius game planner. We know he's a genius and a savant when it comes to breaking down film and finding ways to execute and exploit the other team. Now, what happens here at the end? So what's going on at the end? What is keeping them? Mikey, I don't know. I feel like this is where I'm ultimately going to land, and this is a long answer question. This is ultimately where I land, is that I don't think it's necessarily because we have older players per se, but I think that we eventually run out of talent. I think eventually the Raiders run out of talent. We see Reggie Nelson, for instance. Nobody had a better view to that late touchdown than Reggie Nelson did because he was caught out of position. Now, did he get fooled? Does he no longer have those physical gifts to be able to react to what the offense is doing? I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's costing the Raiders plays and it's costing them football games. So I think Gruden is doing fine. I think the coaching staff is doing fine. I just feel like we're running out of talent. I mean, we certainly did at right tackle. I mean, it didn't take us long before that freaking showed up. So you see what I'm saying? So I think ultimately, long answer to your question, that we're just kind of running out of things that we're capable, run out of capability towards the end of the game. Does that make sense?
I don't know. Believe me, I've been lost ever since I've.
I don't know either. I'm throwing a dart. I'm like, okay, maybe this. Yeah, what it is.
Again, I mean, truthfully, nobody can answer why they're losing,
right,
and just
right.
If everybody's going to have their own opinion on why the Raiders are losing. But you said, we have lack of talent. Well, that could be a Gruden specialty for releasing the talent that we had. And if you want to put numbers by certain players can win a certain amount of games for you in a season. I really believe that. I believe single-handedly Khalil Mack could have won 2 games on defensive pressure in the fourth quarter single-handedly if he was a part of this team, meaning he would have, done something in those games. So that's 2 games that he traded away. Then you look at Michael Crabtree, the red zone threat. That could be 1 game, for a quarterback to throw the ball in the red zone to feel comfortable with in Michael Crabtree. So that could be 1 loss that's missing that Michael Crabtree could have won. Then you look at Marquette King. He could have switched the field in a game or 2. So 1 game at least with Marquette King. So basically, I'm just saying from a broad spectrum, I feel like the talent is less because they've been traded away, released, cut, whatever, and we've lost about 4 games of solid wins and victories per personal player. I mean, and then the play calling is suspect, in my opinion. You said Gruden's a genius play caller. Well, not when it comes down to 4th and 1 on the goal line. I mean, he's handing the ball to not his star running back. He's handing it to Keith Smith, trying to be a genius, trying to create interesting plays, trying to get players involved. I mean, why do you go away from your studs and your stars when they can win you a game? I don't get it. That's just my broad spectrum on that.
Well, can I respond to a couple things you said there? Let me clarify. What I said about Gruden, he's a genius planner. I didn't say caller. I said planner. So the game right. Plan, because I agree with you on that 4th and 1. That was the first time that I can remember the Raiders getting too cute. Like, we got a little too cute there. Just like, I mean, it cost the freaking Seahawks the Super Bowl getting too cute, not just handing the ball to Marshawn. What I would have liked to have seen there is that if you want to fake it to the fullback and flip it out there and then let Marshawn still run it, but now you
want Marshawn going sideline to
sideline?
Well,
see, that's the thing, though, that now you turn a 4th and 1 into a 4th and 4, 4th and 3. So I don't know, but I'm with you, though. But everybody in the planet knew it was coming up the middle to Marshawn, so I get where he was going. But I mean, look, it didn't work, so you can second guess anything. But something that you definitely touched on, and I would like to highlight, is that, you know, I'm not the kind of guy that looks back. I don't like to talk about players that aren't Raiders. I'm not gonna do the whole woe is us because we don't have Khalil Mack and whatever. But I will say this, though, and I think a key point that you touched on, we're missing a closer. Right? And I think that not only we as Raider Nation, but I think this coaching staff thought they were going to have closers. They thought Bruce Irvin would be somebody like that. That would be a closer. Somebody that when you needed that late sack to take someone out of field goal range or on a 3rd down or a 3rd and medium or whatever, somebody to come in there and get that strip sack to change the momentum of the game. That's what we're missing. And we saw it on Derek's fade route to Martavis Bryant in the end zone. I think Derek underthrew that ball a little bit, but he's used to somebody like Crabtree pushing off or creating some sort of space and high pointing the ball, doing different. I'm not saying that Derek couldn't have made it.
Why don't you go to Amari Cooper at that point? Why do you go with the white tiger that hasn't been in practice? I mean, these are Derek Carr decisions as well as Gruden putting players in position to win. But why do you not go to your stars? I mean, that's Amari Cooper time.
Well,
right
I agree. Now, that's not the Amari Cooper play. He's not the you know what I mean, the back of the end zone fade route high point guy. I get it why they would use Martavis in that matter. And I've been saying on this show and all the other shows, that's something that Andre Holmes used to do for us. Not that Andre Holmes was the greatest thing in the world, but when it came to that type of scenario, he was fantastic because he was a big body.
It was a stupid call by Derek Carr.
Well,
first down,
I agree.
After a timeout.
I agree.
We were running the ball. We were on the 20-yard line with 3 minutes left.
I agree.
Just keep running it, dinking and dunking with Marshawn Lynch. We could have probably scored and won the damn.
I agree. And a lot of people have come to Derek's defense on this, saying that, Martavis should have fought better and he was ridden out of bounds and blah, blah, blah. Still, at the end of the day, this is where I think, need to all start holding DC a little bit more accountable. Look, I'm not talking smack about the guy. I love him to death. He's our quarterback, and I'm going to ride or die with him. But here's what I would say, though. He's got to have a little bit better situational awareness. He's got to know better than if that's the play call and it doesn't look good, then make something else happen or check out of it or do something. But you can't have an up-for-grabs ball not when the game's on the line. You just can't do it.
He wanted to be the star at that point, and he took it into his own hands. We'll discuss that in a little bit in the game review. Let's just quickly look at, again, the whole media is going to do this every week. So I'm going to do it as well. But here's Khalil Mack versus the Raiders in terms of defense. Khalil Mack we have 3 sacks in 3 games, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. Khalil Mack in 3 games, we have no wins. They have 4 sacks, Khalil Mack, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble received, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. It looks bad. It's going to continue to look bad. And, they're going to do this every week until we start winning. So Gruden's legacy is definitely on the line. But that brings us to this story. And, again, I'm going to look at this broad spectrum. We'll talk about it really quickly. But John Gruden, last week in the press conference after the game, said he still does not regret trading Khalil Mack. Murf, I just want your opinion on this, and then I'll give mine. Do you believe that he does not regret trading Khalil Mack? And if there is a percentage put on it, how much would it be that he regrets it, which he won't clearly state publicly?
I think there's a 0% chance that he regrets it. What I think,
really?
Yeah, I don't think he regrets it at all. I think what he does, though, is that he misses the talent. And here's the thing, whether it's those stats comparisons that you showed and that everybody's going to continue to bring up, The bottom line is this: is that Khalil Mack is now in a high-profile market. He's in Chicago, and he's going to get all. Now all of a sudden, he's like a darling. You know, I've been making fun of everybody using the terms generational talent, once-in-a-lifetime player, and all that. We never heard that when he was a Raider. You know what? We saw him get 5 sacks in a game one time, and nobody was rhapsodizing.
It's because of the media market as well.
That's what I'm saying. And so he'd had these amazing performances wearing silver and black, and the media didn't rhapsodize about him like they are now. So now all of a sudden, like he's the freaking second coming of football, and because he's a linebacker in Chicago. So I kind of get all that. But anyways, the point I'm making though is that there's never been a question of Khalil Mack's talent. There's a reason that they got an unprecedented amount of value from the Chicago Bears in return. There's a reason that the guy got $90 million guaranteed dollars from Chicago. There's a reason for that. It's because he's a dominant player. That didn't change. And if anybody thought that he was going to go to Chicago and suck, well, then you were highly misled, because there was no chance that he was going to go to Chicago and suck. He was going to go to Chicago and dominate. And the fact that that's news to people, that to me is goofy. Like, we know that. We as Raider Nation have seen this time and time again. Now, granted, we would have
no regrets from Gruden. You think he has
no? I think he regrets not having the talent, but I don't think he regrets one second what it would have taken to sacrifice to retain that talent. I think that's a whole nother conversation, and that's the thing that people muddle these two things together. But
that's the conversation we're trying to have. It's about Gruden.
Here's what I'm telling you: these have to be separated. Does he regret not having? No one is going to take this once in a lifetime player and be happy about it that he's not on your roster. But what would you have had to have sacrificed? And they're two completely different things. And so whether you're listening to an analyst or you're talking about it with your buddies, you got to separate those. Well, sure, we know. Yes, we know he's an amazing player. Heck yeah, we've been watching him forever. We love the guy. That's why it hurt to see him go. But what would it have taken to keep him? That's what we got to remember when all this stuff comes up.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, but I still think every human being has regret. And I wish that Gruden would just somehow summon to that, to make people feel better about decision making. You can have regret and still stand by your decision. You get it? You can look at the future and say, we needed to do this. This is my long-term plan, and I get it. But I have regret about letting an amazing, talented player leave.
He's not going to use those. He's not going to use the word regret.
He's not going to do that, but he should. I'm just saying, to win over people, instead of being a bully, a hard ass, and trying to be the some-called special Super Bowl coach that he really isn't, be a fucking human being and make Khalil Mack, feel a little bit better, and just
who cares about how Khalil Mack
you're trying.
This is where we go completely different directions. I could give lesser of a crap how Khalil Mack feels. He's a freaking Chicago Bear. I don't care about that guy anymore. I don't care what.
But he brought this on himself.
It doesn't, Mikey.
All the comparisons.
Who cares?
On himself by not respecting the decision telling the media.
You know when he'll regret this?
Like, I didn't do it. Reggie did it. I didn't do it. Reggie did it.
You know when he'll regret this? 5 years after he makes that last #1 draft pick. Okay, this thing is such a long ways to go to play out to make these assumptions that this guy has any kind of feelings based on the immediate impact. No, because look, here's the thing. We let this generational talent go, and we don't have anything to show for it. We have all these draft picks. We have all this value, but that doesn't help the Raiders win today. So that's what everybody's getting hung up on, is the fact that it's not helping us win today. Well, you got to quit it.
What would be a problem with him admitting it, maybe to the team only? Guys, I had to do this. I'm sorry that I got rid of a generational talent, but I feel for my team and my plans moving forward, this is what I had to do. I hope you all can understand that. I mean, with the team, not the media, maybe with the team. But he's not going to do that because he's Chucky.
He's done. The guy is gone. It's over. There's no addressing it, talking about it, pining over it.
Because that's what we're doing.
No, but we are.
It's over or not,
he's not. And the media can keep asking him, and they're going to get the same freaking answers. This is what I call.
It makes you mad that we keep talking about it. But until Gruden acknowledges something, we're going to keep talking about it.
You are going to keep talking about it. I'm done with it. This is mental masturbation.
No, the media. I'm not the media.
Yes, and
if they talk about it, I put it in my show.
Yeah, they talk about it. Some beat reporter brings it up to John Gruden. This is a non-story. It's silly. It's silly.
I believe he regrets it. He will not state it publicly. And what percentage? I'm going to say 40%.
Okay.
All right. More on Gruden. Again, it's a story. You say it's a non-story, but it clearly is a story. So, I mean, this is what's going to happen. John Gruden, after a press conference, said in front of the media, that are comparing him to Khalil Mack, he said, it's really hard to find a great pass rusher. It's hard to find a good one. It's hard to find one. I mean, it's just statements like this that reiterate the fact that he doesn't seem to care about our feelings or the Khalil Mack trade.
He doesn't care about your feelings. He doesn't care about you at all. He doesn't care about me. He cares about W's, man.
He should. Well, he ain't getting them. Maybe if he cared a little bit more, the team would finish it out in the fourth quarter.
He cares.
All right.
Look, we got to quit personalizing this stuff, man. John Gruden doesn't care nor own us anything. We are fans of a football team that he is in charge of, and his best interest is W's long term, not even W's this year. And he's going to do the best he can. He's going to make the most of what he has available to him, but he's not going to mortgage his long-term success for short-term gain. It's not going to happen. It is not the best coaches in the NFL now. That's the way they operate. And there's going to be growing pains. Look, I don't like it, Mikey. I'm not apologizing for the losses, man. They hurt me just like they hurt everybody else. But there's a clear-cut path to success in place. Now, whether that path ultimately pans out, whether that plan ultimately works out or not, I don't know, and neither do you, or neither does John Gruden. But I'm willing to trust here's another favorite term here lately. I'm willing to trust the process. There's a clear-cut path, and I'm choosing to trust it because you know what? None of the other stuff has worked. Here's my buddies at the Pillaging Podcast like to use the term brand new. Don't act brand new, Raider Nation. Don't act like we've got this freaking legacy of winning here lately, like we've been running off division championships since 2002. It sucked, man. It's been a path of failure for a long, long time, except for one stinking season that frankly was an anomaly, and now we got the guy back that was responsible for us back when we used to win with regularity. So I'm willing to trust him, even if it takes a little while. I don't like it, but I'm willing to have at least a little bit of patience with it.
We're going to get into this in a minute, but again, why can't he just shut his mouth? When he's asked a question, why does he got to feed the damn trolls? He's doing that clearly. If he's so intelligent, when they ask him a question about a pass rusher, he just says, we got to do a better job. Why doesn't he be Bill Belichickian about this situation? No, he starts feeding it. It's hard to find one. I wish we could find one. You're an idiot. You know we're going to compare. You had one. Let's listen to what the experts think about, Gruden and his statements in the media.
He just said it's not that easy to find a pass rusher 2 weeks after he traded away one of the best in the game. What
the hell are you talking about, John Gruden? Let's be honest, man. This is a generational player. Every year I played in the league, it's been about the most important positions. Quarterback, left tackle, and a guy that can get to the quarterback. You had one of the best of those three options in your facility, in your organization, and a guy that went out the first 2 weeks of the season and has proven to you that I'm a commodity in a league in this day and age when if you don't get to the quarterback, you're not going to win a lot of games. He's gone because of Gruden's ego, period. You got a coach with a 10-year, $100 million contract. Whatever player he wants on that team, he can have because they've given you that option. Khalil Mack went to Chicago. Khalil Mack has just as many sacks as the entire Raiders defensive line. And then John Gruden get on television and says, pass rushers are hard to find. Well, no-ish.
Well, let me say this.
Well said.
Every time Khalil Mack goes out and plays the kind of game that he played on Monday night or on the opener, it's going to come back and basically be a stain on the Raiders and John Gruden's resume. Every time Khalil Mack does something else, it's going to look worse for that organization. And not only has he produced on the field, but here's a guy who is respected and liked in his own locker room, which raises questions in some of the players' minds. And so it's a whole situation that I think makes it fair to wonder, does John Gruden think, should I have just stayed in the booth? What did I need this?
Yeah, I mean, just in summary, I don't want to speak on it because, it gets annoying to talk about it. We're all hurt. But, I mean, I agree with what they say. It's just like, why does he say these things? And now forever, Khalil Mack and John Gruden is going to be a pun. And it's just.
You see what in that soundbite, I don't know who that was. I heard Mike Greenberg, and I don't know who the other guy was talking. But did you notice, though?
Probably.
Did you notice, though, that they don't separate the issue? And this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's not a question of whether Khalil Mack is that talent. Yes, the answer to that question always and forever will be yes. It's a matter of what the Raiders have had to do to keep him. And nobody likes to talk about that because it doesn't sell headlines. But that's the truth of it. There's two different
conversations. But again, the question is not – the question, again, that I'm asking is not whether Khalil Mack, why he was traded. We're not – it's done. Like you said, it's done. It's over with. Now we're talking about the aftermath. Why cannot Gruden respect it? Talk about it, tell people, this is why it happened, and then he makes statements that are just going to be. They're going to be compared.
Mikey, I was responding to what that guy's statement was on that audio clip. That's what I'm referring to. And he referred to how Khalil Mack's impact on the field, how that looks back and how it reflects back on the Raiders. Every time that Khalil Mack makes a play, that was Adam Schefter. Again, I didn't know who that middle guy was. But the point is, they're two different conversations to have, and the quicker that we can rationalize that and deal with that, the quicker we can move on from all of this. It's never going to be a question of whether Khalil Mack was good. Stop it. The proverbial
I just want Gruden to acknowledge it, and just get it out there.
It ain't gonna happen.
Tell everybody to move on, that he made a decision and stand by it, because he hasn't even said he made the decision to trade him,
and he's not going to.
We made it as an organization.
Yes,
we all know it's him. Just get it out there. Just say you made it and deal with it. This is very interesting to me. I'll let you guys all hear the sound bite before we talk about this, but we all knew this was happening, but now it's come to light, and now it's in the national media forefront, and it's getting a little scary for me. You mind playing that clip, brother?
I'm told, Mike, the way that John Gruden handles personnel has caused a divide in that building. Here's why. Gruden has what is amounted to his own personnel staff. He has people like Dave Rosano, who is head of football research, who came to prominence on Twitter with several wild takes, including Jake Locker should be the #1 pick. He has essentially become Gruden's right-hand man. Gruden also has his own draft board, his own personnel board, his own people who help him make cut-ups. And then on the other side, there are the respected scouts from Reggie Mckenzie who helped build this team from basically nothing into a playoff team. And some of those people feel like Gruden simply has not listened to them. It is clear that he is listening to those in his inner circle to do a lot of things, including sign veterans.
Yeah, Reggie Mckenzie was not ready to say goodbye to Khalil Mack at all.
That's what I'm saying. Why is he there?
Why
is he there?
Awkward.
I joked before on this show saying that I think John Gruden should, go to the entire organization and say, I'm sorry, I messed this whole Khalil Mack situation up. I have a responsibility to you. But to hear he has his own guys, that's crazy in the National Football League. How do you expect to build something sustainable?
Because you think that what you think is the right way to go.
It's the right way. Well, then just go ahead and fire Reggie. Let's let him go.
That would be, to me, why is Reggie hanging in there? Look, he's got a contract. He's got a commitment. I guess he's showing I'm going to carry this out until someone tells me otherwise. That's the only thing that I can think of.
But he's a sitting duck.
Your thoughts on Gruden having his own scouting staff that's possibly fighting with Reggie McKenzie's staff, that they're separated?
Yes, he used the term sitting duck. It's not sitting duck, it's lame duck. And if he's a lame duck general manager, then does that really shock us? Look, when you're handed the keys to the kingdom like John Gruden was, Mark Davis has a reverence for John Gruden that is unmatched. There is no bigger Raiders fan on the planet. Love him or hate him, there's no bigger Raiders fan than Mark Davis, and his favorite all-time coach is John Gruden. And he's going to, he's going to live or die with John Gruden. It's just going to be the way that it is. Now, I don't buy into the assumption that there is a division, because Gruden's history and McKenzie's history have crossed paths numerous times, including back at Tennessee. And so I don't think that there is necessarily like any strife, like maybe is what is reported. And the media likes to report that kind of stuff. Just like,
if you're Gruden and you come in and you get rid of all of Reggie's players, they've almost all been banished or purged. I mean, there's got to be some sort of a strife, Murf. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to state that fact. You said that Gruden is basically getting rid of all the talent, whether it was good or not. That's a debatable for another story. But Gruden is purging all of Reggie's picks. I mean, just really think about that. That would hurt Reggie Mckenzie. So, I mean, go on. I just wanted to throw that in there.
So I think that the assumption that there's strife between these two guys and that there's not some sort of an understanding, I think is what the media likes to do, much in the way that they like to report. If you remember back to the Derek Carr contract negotiations, Michael Silver and these other NFL Network people, a lot of people were like, oh, Derek's unhappy and Derek's this and Derek's that. But at the end of the day, he wasn't. And the contract got done and it was done. Now, I'm not saying that everything always reflects back on that particular situation, but the media likes to look for division. They like to look for strife. And so,
of course, they build you up to bring you down.
And so then in that commentary, in that audio commentary, somebody referred to, well, why then is Reggie around? Why not just jettison him? Well, here, I have a firm belief that they need a numbers guy. That when you look at, Gruden, he's going to be the scouting department. He's going to be the talent evaluator. And I think that anybody that's surprised that John Gruden has his own guys to evaluate talent, then what else were you expecting? I'm surprised by that people are surprised that John Gruden has not turned this into a one-man show as far as talent evaluation. Now, that said, Gruden is not
a one-man show. Gruden has his own staff. That's a one-man show. Reggie Mckenzie there's no need for him. When Gruden came in as a coach, he should have just fired Reggie Mckenzie. Most coaches that come in that have that much power would bring in their own staff. Why did he leave Reggie Mckenzie on the team? Why? Because Mckenzie is the fall guy for John Gruden. So if John Gruden fails this year, he could blame it on the talent that Reggie had in. He's already been doing that in the media. He's been blaming all the talent and the draft picks from Reggie, and now he's purging them slowly but surely, and we're still losing. So the point is, Reggie did build a winning team 2 years ago, and Gruden has dismantled it. That's the honest opinion. So whatever it is, it's not McKenzie's team anymore. He should have been fired the minute Gruden was hired. McKenzie is the fall guy for John Gruden.
All right. I don't agree. Not even a little bit. And here's why, is that John Gruden has to have a numbers guy. John Gruden does not know how to, well, he may, I don't know, but his job is not going to be negotiating contracts. That's not going to be John's thing. If you look at the way that Reggie Mckenzie has dealt with contracts and addressed the salary cap, he's done a magnificent job. And I think that John Gruden even recognizes that he's going to need somebody of that caliber. And frankly, if they fire Reggie Mckenzie, if Mark Davis lets Reggie go, they're just going to bring in somebody else that's going to do that, because while John may be responsible for the talent, somebody's got to be responsible for negotiating and organizing contracts in a way that's fair for the team going forward. Because again, don't act brand new, Raider Nation. Think back a little ways. We were a disaster when it came to the salary cap. And I'm not overusing that word. Our salary cap was a disaster. That's why we ended up with Shante Spencer and Carlos Rogers and you know what I mean? All these guys, Terrell Brown. And, I mean, think about all the different players that came in on the cheap on one-year prove-it deals and with no guaranteed money. All those players that came in back then, it was because we couldn't afford to do anything else. And so Reggie definitely gets props for that, for getting us out of that, and to keep us from getting back into that again, we're going to need somebody like Reggie Mckenzie. I don't think he's going to go anywhere anytime soon, but even if he does, they're going to need somebody else like him.
That brings me to free agents. I mean, we need defensive help. Let's be honest. And Gruden brings in veterans and all that. Why the hell has he not signed defensive end Junior Gillette? He brought him in the preseason, or before the preseason. They offered him a deal to be a pass rusher. So you got to think about this. They brought in Junior Gillette, and they offered him a contract. He didn't take it. Junior Gillette didn't take it because he wanted more money or to go to a different team for more money. You know, he figured he was a free agent on the market. but it didn't pan out. Nobody signed him. But the Raiders offered him a deal. So that means Gruden knew the Khalil Mack thing would be an issue to offer him a contract. But now Gruden is scorned by defensive end Junior Gillette, and he's not going back to him. Why not? And then why not safety Eric Reed? He can help our safety position. Carl Joseph got injured this week. They don't believe in Carl Joseph that much. Gruden has said it in the media all the time. You know, it's another one of Mckenzie's picks that's not panning out, according to Gruden. So why not bring in one of these free agents? I mean, give me your thoughts. Should Gruden bring in some free agents right now, dude?
Yeah, I don't think it's entirely off the table. I mean, and they did, and you brought in people like Brandon LaFell, who I think played some snaps.
Yeah, where's he at? What's he doing?
I don't know. You know, I mean, there's been a couple here that are. I mean, you know, look, as much as an apologist as I can be, there's some of these don't make sense. Yeah, you know,
hence the Gruden scouting staff fighting with Reggie Mckenzie. They're not on the same page. Every move that Mckenzie or Gruden's doing is against the wishes of Mckenzie's staff. There's a big divide. It's scary.
You're making assumptions there. I'm not going to live under assumptions, but I'm going to.
They said that. I am not making the assumption. They said it on the media.
And
they said they got the reports.
Those are assumptions. Are those coming out of Alameda?
They said they got a report from the scouting staff.
Let me say this. Let me say this one last time, forever and for all, just so you and anybody else listening has a full understanding of where I'm coming from.
Don't believe the media. I understand. We've heard this.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
Oh.
Believe the media, but not that media. Don't believe mainstream media. Listen to Steve Corcoran. Listen to Paul Gutierrez. Listen to Vic Tafer. Listen to those guys. You know, Matt Schneidman. All those guys that are on the ground. They are.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. They cannot report on the badness of the Raiders. They have a thing put on them. We're gonna talk about that in the next segment. Let's get back into the free agents.
Anyways, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, is Eric Reed a better option than a late arriving Reggie Nelson? Sure, but is Eric Reed gonna turn our defense around? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, really? Like, is that what are we looking at, like, this guy to like bail out our defense for the year? Like,
dude,
really?
I mean, again, the reports are he's an All-Pro.
These kinds of moves are not going to turn us around. I mean,
it'll help. It'll help. Junior Gillette can help. He's better than some of the rookies. He's a defensive end All-Pro, a pretty decent player. Bring him in. The Raiders wanted him early. Why not now?
Okay.
I'm just saying, why not now? Why not now? You get it? They offered him a contract. Why not now? Yeah. It's because Gruden's mad at him.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to speculate on assumptions. I don't know. I don't buy into those types of narratives. But are there other things that are more pressing concerns? And the answer to that question is yes. We were leading in 3.
There's more pressing concerns than a defensive end.
Mikey, we were leading
pressure on this team. There's more, really, at this point of Khalil Mack versus the Raiders. I don't think there's more of a pressing concern than a sack person.
It's not
a defensive end.
Oh my gosh! Stop. If you're going to ask me a question, let me answer. It's not. Okay, you go. Go to the next story because I'm going to get pissed. You're killing me.
No, I just said I think there's a concern for a defensive end. You said there's bigger concerns. I don't think so.
And I can't get the concerns out because you keep cutting me off. Let me spit it out.
Go for it.
Okay, you ready? Can I go now? Okay. There's bigger concerns because we've led 3 football games for 3 quarters and can't close them out. Are Junior Gillette or Eric Reed going to keep us in those games to let us win those games? The answer to that question, I don't think so. So do we have more pressing concerns?
If we can get pressure on the quarterback at the end of the game, they can't do the
Junior Gillette's that guy. That's the guy that's going to become the closer that I referred to earlier. That's the guy that's going to turn it around. All right, let's go sign him. Let's play Madden. Let's sign those guys and go win us a championship. Come on.
Whatever.
Mikey.
I still think they are a concern, and they possibly could help.
Okay.
It couldn't hurt, Murf. It couldn't hurt.
Okay.
This story just scared me a lot. Leon Hall has sickle cell, and he went to Denver and played in the high altitude where many players in the NFL are told not to go to Denver, not to play in that game, and they're not even flown to Denver because they have the sickle cell trait or disease. But Leon Hall went and played, and he ended up hospitalized and very sick after, and he even said to the media, "I'm glad I got through it," meaning he possibly could have died. I mean, I'm not saying that would have happened, but the Raiders knew he had sickle cell and still flew him to the game and asked him to play and all this other stuff, knowing he had the trait and the disease. I mean, why was he there they knew it, and this looks really bad to me. It hurts my heart. I don't know. Do you want to speak on that? It pisses me off.
Okay, so as far as Leon Hall, yeah, I mean, I've been aware of these types of stories in the past, and the way that I understand it is the way that the teams have always addressed it is that they've left it up to the player and their individual doctors to advise them. And I know sometimes players go, and then sometimes players stay. We've heard this thing play out both ways over the years. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he got through it too, and it's scary stuff, man. And you know, these guys know their bodies, and their doctors know their bodies better than anyone. So I think that's good that the teams allow them to make their own decisions on it. But yeah, when you hear these things, it's definitely scary.
It just freaks me out because it just feels like, if they knew whether they leave it on the player or not, if you leave it on any player, they're going to say, I want to play. That's just how it is. But why can't they make a decision that's for betterment of somebody's life?
They don't make the decision. The team doesn't make this call. The player and his doctors make the call. Yeah.
Exactly.
The team has nothing to do with it.
I don't know any doctor that tells a person with sickle cell to play in Denver. I keep hearing stories, this player, he's not playing because he has sickle cell. It should be a 100% non-playable game for players with that trait. It should be 100%. You're not playing. I don't care what your doctors say. You have it. We know you have it. You're not playing. It's just bad decision making, and it just scares me because it seems like they didn't put the player's safety in front of the team. Browns versus Raiders. Look at the history. This is crazy. From 1960 to 2017, I did this the other day. The Raiders have 465 wins, and the Browns have 462. From 1960 to 2017.
Wow.
And the Browns didn't play for 3 years, but my God, we're just like the Browns.
Oh, great.
and we're playing the Cleveland Browns this week.
Yeah.
I don't know, your thoughts, man. We seem to be as bad as the Browns are. And that just hurts me to look at the stats.
Well, I mean, the Browns were good for a long, long time. I mean, you go back in the day, man. I mean, the days of Jim Brown and I mean, they were one of the more dominant teams in football, but that certainly hasn't been in the Super Bowl era. And other than the Cardiac Kids, right, who are our Raiders on Red Right 88 defeated in the playoffs. I mean, aside from those Browns teams, I mean, yeah, they haven't been good with any kind of regularity. I'll never forget, speaking of my school here, MTSU, our quarterback, Kelly Holcomb, who went on to play for the Browns, actually set a playoff passing record for the Browns against the Steelers. And I want to say that was the last time that they didn't win the game, but I want to say was that the last time the Cleveland Browns were in the playoffs? So anyways, there's only been a handful of successful runs for the Browns, and so to think that we're somehow tied with them, that's not necessarily a good stat, but that's just further evident of look, aside from the John Gruden era, you got to go back to 1983 to how that's what I'm saying. Our team, man, has not been good with any regularity for a very, very long time. I mean, it's just been. I mean, I was a kid, and I'm an old guy, Mikey.
Yeah, well, I just thought that was interesting. Go to Wikipedia for all these questions. Since we're playing the Browns next week, I just thought that was an interesting fact. This is what I was talking about with the actual Raider reporters. A story came up a couple years ago where Levi Damon or one of the other reporters like Vic Tafur or somebody mentioned that they were told not to discuss a certain subject, about the team. I can't remember the story, but I promise you it was from a couple years ago. And then now Levi Damon posted this. It's a little hard to read, but he wrote with a picture, or with Sebastian Janikowski, he wrote, with the 56-yard field goal, are we allowed to talk about this Raiders player? So a Raiders reporter said, are we allowed to talk about this Raiders player? Then ever since week 1 and the Khalil Mack trade, no Raiders reporter in the press conferences has asked a question about Mack or said the word Mack. So did the Raiders put a breakdown, the Raiders' actual press department put a shutdown like they did with me, but did they put an actual shutdown on the Raiders reporters? Do you think they banned reporters from talking about Khalil Mack?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time. And again, let's not act brand new. I mean, this is Al Davis was the king of crafting a message, and his fingerprints were all over anything that ever came out of the facility, including the reporters, and a lot of times to their own detriment. You know what I mean? Al Davis was a control freak, and if you weren't referring to him in a glowing fashion in a way that was complimentary and giving him credit for any kind of winning, then he was not having it. So. This would not surprise me, Mikey, to answer your question. I think it's a fair point. I think that it's certainly appropriate to bring it up. But what are our expectations, right? Like what are our expectations of it? And I think that is the potential there for the Raiders to have said, okay, we're not going to, don't ask us any direct questions about this certain subject. That's fair. But as far as the reporting terms go, when they're off site, it's wide open. And if you follow Steve Corcoran, and I mentioned Steve a minute ago, and I encourage anybody, look at RaidersSnakePit.com, and follow that. It's a subscription service, and I'm not plugging them. I don't own any bit of it or anything. I'm just a subscriber because I like the Raiders news. And it's fair and balanced, man. He doesn't skew anything. Him and Bill Williamson, they don't skew anything to any favoritism towards the Raiders. And they're, you know what I mean? And they'll address some uncomfortable subjects for the team. But what it is that it's accurate, because it's on point. It's the things that they see and hear from the team themselves. And that's where, and I guess you could throw Levi in there. He's seemed to be, I've actually had a few exchanges with him over Twitter and stuff, and he's a pretty reputable guy.
I just think it sucks to ban them. They're already working for the team, basically. They're their reporters. But why can't they ask questions? And then why can't they, until Gruden answers it, like we've talked about, why can't they ask, do you regret? Do you feel? Yeah. Well, until Gruden answers it, they deserve the right to ask these questions and to compare. That's just my opinion.
All right. Well, here's what I would, my response. Why would they do it? Let's address that. Why would the Raiders, if they were to put any kind of moratorium on something, or if they were to say, okay, look, you can't go down this path with why would they do that? Well, the answer is because it doesn't propel the conversations forward. The Raiders, despite whether you like it, whether you think the proverbial you feel that you're owed something or that you need to have something, the Raiders don't owe nor have to provide any explanation about anything. All they're concerned about is going forward. They're concerned about tomorrow. They're not concerned about yesterday. So they're not going to answer questions about yesterday. Like you were talking about Bill Belichick earlier. Bill Belichick is famous for, we're on to Cincinnati, right? They asked him a question, and he says, we're on to Cincinnati. Like, I'm not talking about what happened yesterday.
I wish Gruden would say that. I wish Gruden, again, if you're going to go that way, just do that. But Gruden,
we may get there.
Press conference, you got to listen to his press conference today. Again, he started out today's press conference by speaking on Jimmy Garoppolo's behalf, which is fine. I understand that. But, again, it's Gruden trying to show that he's personal. He said, I feel really bad about Garoppolo's injury. Why did he say that in a Raiders press conference? It's because Gruden is a bully and he doesn't look personable. So he needed to throw that to the media to make them feel bad so they didn't ask about his losses and they don't feel bad about all the losing we're doing. And Gruden called himself Chucky 5 times today. And then he said, maybe I'll get Baker Mayfield on my quarterback camp show. Like, what the hell are you talking about, Gruden? It's just Gruden. He's a master media manipulator, and that's what he's doing again.
Look, he's the rock star head coach, man. I mean, there's no mistaking. This is the reason that Al traded him to begin with, was because Gruden became the face of the organization, and Al wasn't having it. When you look at that big giant billboard there in Las Vegas, out in front of that new stadium that's getting built, it says the Raiders are coming. And who's on that billboard, Mikey? Gruden is the face of the organization. So like it or not, you're dead on, man. He is a media personality. That is, and he always has been. He was when he was our coach the first time. He was when he went to Tampa. He was when he did the quarterback camp. He did it when he was in the booth, and now he's still doing it when he's back. That's his personality. Now, I happen to like it. I like the fact that he's that guy. I like that he's the perfect 8-minute soundbite or the perfect 3-minute soundbite. Like, I love that because, as somebody.
But criticism comes with it, and hence why we're all criticizing.
And that's fair. And I think that's fair to criticize him. But here's the thing: I don't think he cares. He doesn't care. This whole idea of that.
I think he loves it. I think he enjoys every single moment of it. and he relishes the spotlight. And that's what's
yes,
boggling my
but
mind.
I don't think he cares. But the criticism he doesn't care about, Mikey. He doesn't care. He don't care.
No, I know, but he relishes the spotlight.
Sure he does.
The criticism is in.
Sure, they all do. They all do. Look, and here's the thing, too, and we brought up Belichick so much, and I'll keep bringing him up.
Be a coach.
Here's the thing.
Don't
Bill
be a star.
Belichick is just as charismatic as John Gruden is. The difference is
the media.
Not with the media. That's the difference, is that Bill Belichick is a very good leader of men. He's a very charismatic leader, but he's charismatic in the locker room. He's charismatic inside the building when he's with the people that he's leading. He doesn't give half a crap about the media, where John Gruden is willing to play the game a little bit. He's willing to be on Front Street. He's willing to be the man with the spotlight on him. You're absolutely right on that.
I don't know. I just think Gruden is too much of a star to be a coach right now.
And that's fair. That's fair. He is certainly, if I think the fairest out of all the John Gruden criticism, and the one that I'm fully willing to concede, is that is his desire to be out front of the organization and to be the man. Does that impede his ability to coach a football team? Now, I don't think that's the case, but I think that's a fair thing for people to bring up, because he certainly puts himself out there, no doubt.
All right. Just give me your quick recap. You know, your thoughts of the game again, versus we'll do a little game review. We'll look at some stats while we're talking about the game, what they could have done to change it.
Yeah, I think now we're 2 of 23 when traveling to the East Coast and playing on the eastern seaboard there. So, I mean, it's been ugly for a long time for the Raiders, especially when they play the early game and traveling all the way to the East Coast. So, I mean, of course, my expectations as a fan always is that they're going to win, and nothing was telling us that they weren't, especially with the way it started off. Jordy Nelson was on fire earlier. It was a really fun football game to watch until those waning moments. And, it just kind of, as a fan also, I just felt like it was coming. And I think that that's going to be the case now until they finally close one out and win one. I just felt this coming. I said on our show last week, not only did I think the Raiders were going to win, I thought they were going to win big. And when they were up by 10 and the way that Jordy started, I thought, all right, here we go, Mikey. We're going to win this one big, just like we expected, just like we thought. Then that fourth quarter collapse, man, when they ran out of talent, that was tough, man. This game now has officially set my expectations for the rest of the year. And I'm not going to believe, and I'm a ride or die with the Raiders, but I'm not expecting anything but, I don't know.
Yeah,
just seeing.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. I'm worried about the season moving forward. But look at the stats. I mean, every week we've been in total yardage over 350, and time of possession, we've owned every team so far this year.
Uh-huh.
And it just boggles my mind that they could play this good, and then in those critical moments, make either the wrong play call, a quarterback could check out of a play, go for a long bomb, turnovers. But in these critical moments, there's no pressure on their quarterback on defense. It's just boggling my mind, because the Raiders' game plan seemed solid, at least for the first half most of the time. And this week, it went into the third quarter with the game plan. But we have no superstars. People say, what are you talking about? Jordy Nelson. Look, I don't know if time has passed these players by. But the first week, Jared Cook got the ball, so he was the superstar that week, right? Then the media talked about Amari Cooper didn't get the ball. Where's Amari? Aren't you going to focal point the offense around Amari? Then in week 2, all Amari. They made an effort to get him the ball. Then they talked about Jordy Nelson. What's going on with Jordy Nelson? And then now this week, Jordy Nelson. Why can't they put it all together? All 3 of them in one game. Get them all open, because this is the preseason for the Raiders and Gruden and his new coaching staff, and trying to figure out what plays work, what plays don't work. They're barely figuring that out. They're barely finding out what players to put in certain situations for a good play. They're barely figuring it out in week 3. And again, that's a problem with the NFL in general. But I hope by week 5 they could have all these players in one game and they know all the angles and the good stuff,
Well, I agree with you to a certain extent. Here's the thing, though, is that these guys are they're going to play the matchups, you know, so the staff is going to game plan for the matchups. And so, you know, I hate bringing this freaking team up. I really do. But when you look at the way that the Patriots have game planned historically, like they're a terrible team to like, and you know this, they're a terrible team to own any of their fantasy players because you don't know what player is going to do what from week to week. You don't know if it's going to be Deion Lewis or it's going to be Amendola or if it's going to be Gronk or if it's going to be Edelman or you don't know who's going to go off week to week. That's essentially what the Raiders are doing, is that they're game planning to exploit certain matchups. So I think we're just going to see that. Well, in 1 week it's going to be the running game. 1 week it's going to be the tight end.
They barely put Jordy Nelson in the slot last week. That was the first time Jordy Nelson's been in the slot because Seth Roberts was taken out of that game. So they put Jordy in the slot, and then he did great. But again, he should be in the slot always.
But again, why? Why? No, what? Just because? No, you're going to do things.
He's a speedy up the middle guy. He's not a long bomb. Let me catch the ball over an 8'5" cornerback in the end zone. That's not Jordy Nelson.
You're going to do the.
That's not Jordy Nelson.
You're going to do the things that are going to give you the most favorable matchups in the game, and those are the players that are going to work themselves open, and they're the ones that are going to generate stats. And look, man, we can be critical as all heck of this team because they're 0-3, but the bottom line is that for 3 quarters, they are highly productive. They look really freaking good, and in the end, we blow it. And in this case, look, the game never comes down to 1 or 2 plays, but sometimes it comes down to 1 or 2.
Explosiveness, Murf. I completely agree with you.
Mikey, how do you call a guy that had 150 yards and a touchdown in the first quarter not explosive? Come on, man.
Well, like you always tell me, let me finish my statement. What I was meaning to say is, yes, we get the lead, but then we continue with the dink and dunk, the 5-yard runs, the 3-yard outs. We don't get explosive and take the game by the balls. So in the fourth quarter, we have a 20-point lead that we can possibly win by controlling the time of possession, which is what the Raiders are doing. We're owning the time of possession. That means once we have the lead, we need to go up by 10 or 14, and then we're going to win a lot of games with that strategy. But the game is too close.
When Derek Carr steps out of a potential sack and creates some time and throws the ball deep downfield for an almost certain touchdown, and Amari Cooper gives up on the route because he doesn't realize that Derek had still kept the play going, and the ball gets picked off, is that John Gruden's fault? Is that the play?
Again,
is that the
that's
plan?
One play. I'm talking in general.
Okay, but in general, that could have put us up by 17, and there you go. There's your big explosive play you're looking for. Now, is that the coach's fault?
He puts Marshawn Lynch as a wide receiver on 3rd and 1. On 3rd and 7, he has Marshawn Lynch running 1 yard out on 3rd and goal line. I mean, you're going to make Marshawn Lynch run sideline to sideline? Seriously? I mean, whatever. The players are not being put in all the right positions yet. Sometimes they have been, sometimes they haven't. We're learning, and I honestly hope that this week, maybe they learned a lot in the previous weeks, and we can have an excellent 4-quarter game. Speak on Marshawn Lynch. I mean, I liked what I saw. He really fought his butt off. I liked how he dove for that touchdown. But just we have no running back besides Marshawn. And then he's only a bruiser, like a 4-yard type running back, in my opinion. I don't know, man. Speak on it.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, he's one of the highlights of our offense, and you know, it's nothing better, man, at least to me here lately, watching these games and watching him run, man. He's so explosive with the football. There is no give up in him. And, you know, when the first guy never brings him down, like it's just fun to watch him run the football. And when you listen to his post-game comments, I mean, you know, he'll even tell you, look, we're only a play or two away, and we're not giving up. This thing is not over yet. The locker room is good.
Did you hear that post-game press conference from Marshawn? Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah.
Did you hear him when he said we're only 1 check away? I don't know. When I watched that, again, he said all the right things. I'm proud of him. I loved him. He said we're 1 play away, this and that, but he also said we're 1 check away. I don't know if that was a little money pun to one player with a big check away. I thought that was awesome. I just had a good time.
You're out of control with the conspiracies, my man.
Hey, I loved it. I don't care. I loved it. But wide receivers, man. What did you think? where's Brandon LaFell? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Jordy was amazing, and the only thing I think he would have liked to have had back was not having 55 chase him down from behind, getting chased down by a linebacker. We heard all offseason about how Jordy is still as fast as he once was. I don't think so. I don't think he's getting chased down by somebody with a number in the 50s, 5 or 6 years ago. But still, he was amazing. We all know he had the capabilities. He's such a precise route runner. I think, the most disappointing thing for me, if not just the Martavis Bryant play in the end zone where, look, Derek didn't throw a good ball, but he also didn't do Derek any favors. But freaking Amari Cooper, man, it's time to get really real about this guy. That play down the sideline where, Derek had, that was going for 6. And that thing went right through his hands, and it wasn't deflected. There was no sight lines impeded there. The defender was trailing. He just flat dropped it, man. It just went through his hands. And if you're going to be one of the elite receivers in the NFL, you don't drop that pass, man. And I think we all want and expect Amari to be that guy, and he's due a big fat contract coming up. Like, come on, man. Like, that's the kind of stuff
he might be purged. I don't know. He might be purged.
Let's get real about him. Is he worth $17 million a year for 2 catches and dropping like that? Look, I don't want to hate on the guy at all. And I like Amari Cooper a lot, but we got to get some kind of consistency, man. You can't drop that pass. That one you can't drop. If you're an NFL receiver, you can't drop that pass.
I agree. I struggle with a lot of the team's play, but again, I'm not the coach. I'm just a fan, speaking my nonsense. But on defense, this boggles my mind. I think we're one of the worst defenses in the league. Maybe you guys don't believe that. Maybe the stats don't say it, but literally, our defensive end, Bruce Irvin, $9 million a year, 8.5, 1 tackle, no quarterback pressures, and he was on a pitch count this week. Maybe they were making up for his effort last week in Denver, if you watched the final plays of the game. But he was on a pitch count, and we got nobody on the defensive line that has stepped up. We had in total 2 quarterback hits this week. We're going down in the stats. We had 5 the first week, 4 the second week, and 2 this week. This is getting scary. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say.
We knew we were going to have a drop in production, again, because of all the things that I mentioned. I think that, P.J. Hall being out certainly hasn't helped. What's the guy there? The Clinton McDonald, I think, has been starting at defensive tackle for us. So,
he had a sack, and Maurice Hurst, I think, had one too.
Yeah, and Jelly Ellis is hurt. So, there's been a lot of, we got a lot of interior guys that would and should normally have a bigger impact. Well, P.J. Hall, I say normally, we don't know, but all signs point towards he's going to be a little more disruptive. But yeah, we hadn't seen anything from Arden Key, but my biggest disappointment is that because those guys are unknowns, because those young bucks, we still, don't know what their career is going to look like. The biggest disappointment for me is Bruce Irvin, man. When Khalil left, I thought this was an excellent opportunity for him to step up and establish himself as not only a leader on the defense, as a leader in the locker room, but a leader on the field to inspire those around him, to fire the team, right? Much like you see Marshawn kind of do for everybody offensively. I was expecting to see Bruce Irvin kind of be that guy on defense.
But Mikey, he needs another star to make him look good.
Yeah.
I think that's the end result. Yeah. He needs another player to help free him up because
he's not that guy. He's not that guy. And I think if anything, I didn't expect that. I thought he could be it when given the opportunity to just purely rush the passer, put his hand in the dirt and just go out there and get quarterbacks. I'm with you, man. That was shocking. One more thing that I'm going to pick on, and I think it was Carl Joseph. I know Joseph got hurt and he was out, but that one play where he went in on the blitz and Tannehill kind of rolled out and escaped out of the pocket and then ran and converted that first down at the 12-yard line or whatever that was, and Joseph was trailing him the whole way. I'm sorry, man. If you're a safety, you need to be able to run down that quarterback. Look, that's not Colin Kaepernick. That's not Mike Vick. That's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Tannehill's athletic, but he ain't Steve Young. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to run him down, man. And he didn't. That was not a good play for us on defense. That was pretty ugly.
I mean, if I can be an apologist for our defense, I'm going to be in this statement. But Paul Gunther doesn't have the players that he thought he was going to have coming into this team to scheme them up.
I agree.
And I guarantee you that the reason why we're also struggling on the defensive line is because he cannot get Bruce Irvin in the right position. He cannot get Arden Key in the right position scheme-wise, because we got new players on the defensive line every week. And every 2 weeks, we get a new free agent that's a veteran, that's a little slow, or whatever the situation is. So they don't have the time to learn the playbook, to learn schemes where they can, crisscross defensive players and, free up a spot for another player. They don't have time to do it. Like Clinton McDonald coming in, Jonathan Hankins, they're basically Paul Gunther is telling them, all right, go out there and try to sack the quarterback. Go out there, and if you see a lane, block the running back or tackle the running back. There's no scheming. And I'm afraid we're not going to see any good scheming until the players get off of injury and they've been on the team for more than 2 weeks. So it's just really tough to be a defensive coach for the Raiders right now, because Gruden is changing cornerbacks every week as well. He's putting in Carl Joseph 1 week. He's putting in Reggie Nelson. Let me test out this player. Let me test out that player. This player's injured. We got Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Let me try him.
Yeah, safeties. Corners were looking pretty good. I think Melvin's playing well. DRC's playing well. Even Conley, man. I think those three guys are playing pretty darn well. And look, we got Worley coming up soon, too, as soon as he finishes serving out that suspension. So I think
another guy that we're going to have to get.
So I think as far as cornerback goes, we're in good shape. But safeties, man, we are struggling.
Yeah, no, I think we're struggling on the entire defensive line and in the safety position. But for the first time in many years, our cornerbacks are doing as good of a job as they can without getting pressure on the quarterback. All right, it's time for the fun segment.
Woohoo!
Get over all the nonsense of us disliking Gruden or you loving Gruden. I don't know, whatever.
You know what? See, this is the bad part of not winning football games, is that this is what happens. It breeds discontent, man, because like they say, winning cures all. It's the freaking truth, man. This sucks. It sucks being a Raider fan today, Mikey.
Even worse. So, but let's get into some good stuff. I love movies, and it's football season. And around this time of year, normally like in the preseason, I start rewatching football movies and all that. And there used to be one football movie every year that would come out.
Yeah.
But they don't make money, so they're not bringing them out anymore.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get one this year, did we?
No. So, but I just thought about, let's get into our top 5 favorite football movies. All right, so let's start with number 5. What is your favorite or your 5th favorite football movie, Murf?
My 5th favorite this is one of those ones that kind of blurs the lines of whether it's a true football movie or not, because it's a football movie, but it's kind of a cop movie. It's kind of a buddy movie, but I'm going to go with The Last Boy Scout with Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis. This movie, Mikey, is so old. Bruce Willis had hair.
That's true. You know what? This is before Bruce Willis realized he was a superstar.
Absolutely.
I like The Last Boy Scout. That was a fun. I call it an action.
It's an action movie. Yeah, it absolutely. It's
with
not
little football.
Yeah, it's not a true football movie it's not a football movie in the truest sense, I would say. But as you can see, Damon Wayans holding the football there. He plays an exiled quarterback that got in trouble for gambling and whatnot. And it's overall it's a very very good movie. It's a good movie.
You know, one funny thing you kind of brought up right now is Bruce Willis He's in 2 movies that have no genre. So you say Last Boy Scout is not a true football movie, but it could be lumped in there. What about Die Hard? I call that a great Christmas movie. But people are like, Die Hard ain't a Christmas movie.
Did you see it was some award show that he was working on, or maybe it was his roast. It was the roast of Bruce Willis that came out earlier this year. And he actually said that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. And everybody was like,
Christmas movie. It's my favorite, like one of my favorite Christmas movies. That seriously, that is Christmas to me. But all right, that's awesome. I love The Last Boy Scout. I don't have it in as a football movie, so. But my number 5 would be Any Given Sunday.
Inch by inch.
Hooah! Oh, Willie Beam. I keep the ladies steaming. I love that movie. I think that was an awesome movie, man. I really enjoyed it. And it had a lot of realism to it. And the speech by Al Pacino, inch by inch. Yeah, it's one of my favorite speeches of all time in the locker room as a coach. And then the gratuitous, while he's doing that speech, they have to show every player in the locker room looking like, yeah, we're finally going to go out and win it. I think Gruden needs to bring the team together for a fourth quarter speech. Just bring them back into the locker room for 2 minutes and then give the inch by inch speech in the fourth quarter and we'll win some games.
There you go.
Give me your fourth favorite movie.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of what order I gave it to. Did I give you Woodlawn? Was that number 4?
My pictures are a little out of
order.
That's
okay. Yeah, Woodlawn. So this is a true story about Tony Nathan, who is a running back in Alabama, and this is this is back in the segregation era of the South. And it's a Christian movie, and it gives a good story about how he and the coaches, very similar to Remember the Titans, kind of the division of black and white, and how football provided a platform for unity and the outreach that happened, and how the church was integrated into all that. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. It's a great movie. I'm a big Goonies fan like you are, and our buddy Sean Astin is in it, and he's great. But yeah, it tells a cool story about there's a lot of football, and this is not like Last Boy Scout. There is a lot of on-field, a lot of football in this movie, but it also definitely addresses some of the social dynamics that were going on in the South back then, and about how they triumphed and overcame those things. And of course, and then Tony Nathan went on to a prolific NFL career with the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, pretty good movie.
I've never watched it. I'm very interested. This will be my movie for this week. So there we go. What number are we on? We're number 4.
That was number 4. Yeah.
All right. I don't know why I have that there. All right. My number 4.
Oh, Draft Day.
Yeah. My number 4 is a recent movie from a couple years back, Draft Day. And the main draft pick's name was Mac. I just had to say that. Just didn't want to. But it's funny. It was with Cleveland, and his name was Mac. But I like Draft Day because it wasn't really about football. It was about the behind the scenes and the inner workings of the draft day and the money and trading, and from the general manager and the coach's standpoint. So I really enjoyed Draft Day, man. I think you guys should go out and have a good look at that one. Then I believe this was your next movie, then your third favorite.
Yeah, man, you can't go wrong with Remember the Titans. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, right? I mean,
we are, so we tell them, right? We are the Raiders, the mighty Raiders.
But yeah, I mean, Denzel.
Quick story about that movie. I went very far in auditioning for that movie, and to be quite honest with you, it was between me and Ethan Suplee, the big guy that got the part, and I had to audition with the Temptations. I had a bunch of auditions, but one of my final ones with the director, Boaz Joaquin, I had to walk in there and I had to sing the Temptations, the song, I know you want to leave me.
Oh, that's a great scene. Yeah.
Without my shirt on and everything. They just wanted to see if I was excited. And then the director at the end of that audition day, I was in the audition room with all of the actors, for multiple parts. They were auditioning like the final 3 or 4 actors that whole day. Then at the end of the day, the director, Boaz Joaquin, he brings me in. He goes, Michael, we're going with the Hollywood fat guy. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we're going with Ethan. He's Hollywood fat. And I go, what does that mean, Hollywood fat? He goes, well, you're like 280, 300 pounds. He goes, he's 460. He's 6'5". He will look good on screen. He goes, he will look really good on screen. He goes, but I love the character you brought, that you're underdeveloped. You have no athletic ability, but you were there to win, to be on the team, to support the team. That was the character I brought in.
Yeah.
Not like I was a football player, but like I shouldn't be there, but I am for support. And, I'm going to do whatever I can to win the game,
That's
But they went
cool,
with the
Mikey.
Hollywood
That's
bad
a
guy.
that's a cool story, man. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're disappointed you didn't get the role, but yeah, I mean, to go that
One of my
far,
many regrets.
to go that far in the process for such an amazing classic movie, dude. That's awesome, Mikey.
Yeah, no, and then I ended up teaming up with that guy Ethan in the movie called Evolution.
Yeah.
So you see how our history is matched.
Absolutely.
All right, that was number 4, 3?
Three. That was three. That was my three. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, my 3 is Facing the Giants, another Christian football movie about a high school football team. And there's one scene in here where this guy has to do like legs or back
death crawl
crawls with somebody on his back, and they tell him to do it for like 30 yards. And he's like, they blindfold him, and he's like, I can't. And then he's like, keep going. Like the power of this movie in terms of the willpower, just changed my life and my mind forever. I really recommend you guys watch Facing the Giants. I know it's a Christian-related movie, and there's a lot of, religion aspects toward it, but don't get me wrong, it's a great human being movie first, and that's what I loved about this movie. All right, what is your number 2?
You go ahead and go play foosball with your friends.
The Water Boy! Water sucks. It really, really sucks. Gatorade. Oh, my God, that movie's hilarious.
Bobby Boucher, they ever catch that gorilla that broke out of the zoo and came and punched you in your eye? There's so many lines, dude. Like, this is just one of those ones, man. I've seen this movie 100.
I touched Vicky Vale's boobies, and I liked it. that movie we suck again. I played that video clip, like every week for 3 years on this channel. Every week we lost, I was like, we suck again.
Yeah, that, and of course, You Can Do It came out of this, right? You can do it, right? Like, there's so many famous quotable lines that came out of this. Of course, now our announcer Brent Musburger for the Raiders, he calls the game with Dan Fouts the Bourbon Bowl.
Oh my!
Yeah, you know what? So it's just great, man. This is the height of Sandler's power right here to me. Like, there's, he's the best, of course, are Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, and this one you can throw in there. Even Big Daddy is one of my favorites. But this is the height of Sandler power right here. You can't get any better than The Waterboy. It's a great movie.
What do I call him? Bill Musgrave? Bill Musgrave's play calling, announcing. Brent Musburger's announcing this week when Marshawn went over, dove over, he goes, oh my, again. He said it again. That's his catchphrases. Oh my. It's bothering me, Murf. My number 2 is North Dallas 40. It was made in the 70s. It's kind of like a partying football movie, but you see all the pain that they had to go through without the technology.
Yeah.
They have to put themselves in ice baths. They have to drink alcohol to like make themselves feel better. They have to do drugs to heal themselves. This movie, I was going, is this football in the 70s? And I believe it was.
Yeah, and our boy Matuzak is in this one. I mean, he was. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching this movie as a kid, and it had a big impact on me because I'm with you because it was so graphic. Like whether the drug use and the partying, and it was probably a movie that a 10-year-old kid didn't need to be watching, but I did, and my dad let me watch a lot of movies I probably shouldn't have watched, like Apocalypse Now and all kinds of stuff. But this was one of them, man. And I remember like it had a big impact on me as a kid, thinking like, wow, these guys are just going through hell, literally, but they're also partying like hell and having fun too. It's a very good movie, and I haven't watched it in a long time, so I don't know how it holds up, but it was a very, very poignant movie back then.
They weren't making millions of dollars either.
No.
Like one would be like the millionaire, the wide receiver,
Yes.
and then he had a mansion where or the quarterback would be like the millionaire. Then he had like girls and drugs. It's a great fun movie. It's fun.
Yeah. Sorry, good choice.
It's a great fun movie.
Yeah.
What's your number 2?
No, this is my number 1. So my number 1 football movie is Jerry Maguire. Yeah, Jerry
Maguire.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Jerry Maguire. Now listen, Jerry Maguire, let me just throw this out there. And I make fun of it too for Jerry being kind of a sad sack and that whole "you complete me" and "you had me at hello" and all that. And those are the very romantic sides of that movie, and that's definitely a big part of any Cameron Crowe movie. But the football part of this movie was really kind of unmatched as far as like looking into the lives of the agents and the dynamic of the inner workings of the NFL. We really haven't got a lot of movies that really explored that. You get a lot of stuff as far as the players go, but you never see things at the organizational level very often. And so there is some really, really cool stuff in here. Of course, I'm a big Jay Moore fan, just his comedy and whatnot, but he plays Bob Sugar, plays like the rival agent to Jerry Maguire. And there's some great quotes in this movie. One of my favorites that he says is that it's not show friends, it's show business. I use that all the time still in my day-to-day life. And another one that I use is that at one point Jerry wakes up out of a dream. He feels this inspiration. He goes down to Kinko's and to get these copies made. And who's working down there at the Kinko's is Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. And he looks at him and he kind of shakes his head and he says, "That's how you become great, man. You put your balls out there." And you know what, Mikey? That's kind of a lot of how I live by, man, is that without great risk, you can't reap the rewards, man. You got to put yourself out there. You got to take chances. And that line in that movie details it great. And then, of course, all the Cuba Gooding Jr. is phenomenal. And from there, like, there's just so many different dynamics. Jerry, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. Jerry that plays the quarterback, plays Cush. Not Cornell, it's O'Connell, Jerry O'Connell. Jerry O'Connell is great. Bo Bridges as his dad. You get to see that dynamic
So that's your number one.
Yep. Sorry, I can rhapsodize about that movie for all night.
I know.
Great movie. Movie. Let's move on.
I love Jerry Maguire. It's in my top 10. It's just not in my top 5, which we're discussing. Rudy is my number 1. I really love the under player that's really not meant to play college football, for that matter. I just really love the heart warming once he makes the team. The team gives up their jerseys so he can finally play a game. It's just a beautiful human being story. There it is. There's our top 5 movies. And you know what? We have to have a 00 movie.
Except Rudy was offsides. But go ahead.
But my 00 movie, if you go above number 1, 00, Jim Otto, it is Remember the Titans. Again, that's one of my regrets in life. I wish I was in it, but I loved watching the movie, and I thought it was great. Okay, so there it is. You know what? Let's get into a quick game preview. What are your expectations for the Raiders-Browns game this week at home before we travel to London? My God, we're on the road so much.
Yeah, I mean, my hopes and my expectations have become two completely different things now. My hopes are that the Raiders win. My hopes are that we can close out a football game. My hopes are that we can stay consistent through 4 quarters. My expectation is this Baker Mayfield is something special, man. I don't know if you saw the game the other night, but he is Brett Favre 2.0, and there's a lot of momentum and a lot of talent behind this team. Hugh Jackson's going to have a little bit.
That's what Derek Carr lacked.
Hugh Jackson's going to have a little bit of extra mustard for the Raiders. He's going to certainly want to win this game because it's going to be a little personal for him. Of course, it's going to be personal for Gruden, too, and he's not going to want to be embarrassed at home. But I think my expectations are going to be a close game. I think in my heart of hearts, the Raiders have got to pull this out. They've got to pull out a close game. Even with just thinking, putting my fandom aside, just my football brain tells me the Raiders still have more weapons than the Browns can deal with, and that we're going to be able to beat them, our offense versus their defense, and outscore them despite what any kind of magic that Baker Mayfield has. So I'm going to say a close game, 20-17 win for the Raiders.
Okay. I just think what Derek Carr is lacking is what Derek Carr had in his first season, which is moxie. And now Baker Mayfield, he's coming in like a rookie, wanting to make the team, showing moxie. And I think Derek Carr, with all the criticism that's been getting on him for making the big throws or interceptions or getting hit or getting injured, like he lost that, like, let me just go out there and will the team to a victory. He questions himself and second guesses himself. And can you imagine if we lose to the Browns? I mean, you guys think I'm bad right now with Gruden in the team. Oh, my goodness. If Baker Mayfield shows out and beats the Raiders, gosh. I don't know, guys. I might lose it on air, literally.
I might have to take the week off. This might be Mondays with Mike.
Correct. And then real quickly, if there could be an that I predict for, ought to be Derek Carr. I mean, he's got to win this game for us. He's got to will it. He's got to win it. I don't care defense. I don't know anything about that. This is Derek Carr. I mean, again, Whether you throw the ball 40 times and complete 30 passes, you got to win this game first. You got to run it around. You got to will it. You got to be better than Baker maybe. Who's your actor for this game?
Yeah, I don't want to get too repetitive, but yeah, it all lands on the quarterback. He's the $25 million man. If we made a choice of Derek Carr over everybody else in the, that wears a silver and black jersey, and rightfully so, because you got to have a franchise quarterback, and the team goes as the quarterback goes. That's what happens in the NFL. So it's got to be him. And I hate to put the whole last game on his shoulders as far as in terms of a win and loss, but he certainly had the most glaring infraction. So yeah, my X factor would be Derek Carr as well.
Again, Derek Carr is basically the only star, in my opinion, that can either win us or lose us games, and he's done both throughout the years. But they're losing us games more than winning them. Well okay, said. So that is today's official Mondays with Mike and Murf. Thank you guys for tuning in each and every day. If anything I can say in closing is have a Monday Night Football. We got Pittsburgh Steelers versus Tampa Bay. Who you got, Murf?
Give me Pittsburgh. I think that despite all the dysfunction that goes on, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is way overrated. I think that anybody who thinks that he's going to do this with any kind of consistency is misguided, and you've missed what Ryan Fitzpatrick's career has looked like up until now. So I'm gonna say that Pittsburgh comes out guns blazing and they win big and they thump the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Last season in free agency, when Ryan Fitzpatrick was a free agent last season or 2 seasons ago, it might have been, I was begging the Raiders to pick up a veteran free agent. And people told me, you're crazy, Fitzpatrick sucks. I don't care. He can win us a game here or there with injuries to Derek Carr or something like that. So you guys suck it. Fitzpatrick is a great backup. I believe this is Antonio Brown's game.
Yes.
The diva wide receiver. Ben Roethlisberger, like, get him the ball. This is Antonio Brown game. And you know what? Maybe over 200 yards receiving in this game.
I agree.
This has been Mondays with Mike and Murf. I am Mikey. Murf, give your shout-outs, whatever you want to say, and get on out of here and enjoy our life.
You can search for Murf's Fan Cave on any podcast service, Google, Apple, anywhere, and you can see all the Murf's Fan Cave shows, which includes Mondays with Mikey and Murf. It includes Raiders Fan Radio, and it includes the Fan Club Blitz. So please search us out there. If you just want to keep it strictly Raiders related, you can just look for, of course, Raiders Fan Radio and find that show. But all of them, go to the podcast network. What can go wrong? You got Mondays with Mikey and Murf, and then all the rest that come along with it, man. It's kind of like a capture all. So please like it, subscribe to it, and when all else fails, hit me up on Twitter @_Murf.
I believe I got everything correct in the description. Murf, if there's a different link you need for me to provide for people to go to your site in my videos, please let me know later.
Cool.
But there it is. Raiders Fan Radio, amazing subject, amazing podcast. And we put in a lot of work. Raider Nation, please stop expecting videos and start respecting videos.
Word. Nicely put, Mikey.
I'm Mikey Raider. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. And let's get a victory. I am just hurting. I want to win. All right, let's sing the theme song because it annoys everybody, but I love it. Let's get on out of here. I'll see you next week because it's Monday with Mikey and my boy Murf. We talking Raiders and football dirt. Because we, a big Raider talk show, we have good times. No matter whether you think we're fighting or not, we're having good times. It's Mondays with Mike and Murf. We out of here.